Okay, I got a cookie that's been reduced to 41p. Wealth. So I was walking up here just now, and I always come up here where the wealthy estate, because it's quieter, and it's a bit quieter. There's less people around. I was walking past, and there's people like getting an old desk and chairs and things and trying to stuff them into the back of a car. Looks like, I mean, my initial thought was they're going to move house. Because I just walked up here. Before I do the video, I'll do a walk along the street, just along this common land, just to gather my thoughts. I saw these people like sticking stuff in the back of a car, a large car. So I thought they were just moving. I didn't think anything of it. And there's a wooden chair on the pavement ready to go in the car, and he couldn't get it in the car. The guy then picked up the chair and started smashing it against the ground to break it. And it was a perfectly good wooden chair. And I felt sorry for it. And maybe this is... And I felt really upset that they were doing this to this chair, broken chair. They were breaking the chair. There was nothing wrong with it, and they were breaking it. But I walked past, so I assumed it wasn't moving house. They were doing a tip run. They were just going to throw all this stuff away. But throwing away stuff that was perfectly good enough. I didn't expect to see that. Although I'd intended to come up here today and do a car talk, a talk in the car on wealth. It's just when I'm walking up and down here before starting this video, starting recording, I didn't expect to see that. I think it was a whole dining table in the back of the car. I thought it was originally a desk, like a large desk. But it could have been the dining table. Maybe they were matching chairs. Or maybe one of the things, maybe the dining table was damaged before they broke it up. And maybe they thought that because it's matching table and chairs, maybe they bought the table and chairs together, that if they throw one out, they're going to have to throw the others out. And I don't understand the logic of that. You don't do that. Is it? So I'm tempted just to think they're stereotypically wealthy and they don't care. But the truth is, I don't know the whole story. There could be more to it. But the chair, to me, did not look broken. It looked perfect. It looked fine. I don't know why you couldn't have given it to a charity. There's plenty of charities that take furniture. Anyway, today's talk is meant to be about wealth. That's why I've been planning to do a talk on wealth for a few weeks, a little while. There's a distinction between disposable income and quality of life. And I have a coffee. Sitting in this estate here, we ultimately see the big houses and the expensive cars and the incredibly expensive cars. And you automatically think these are wealthy people with lots of disposable income. But that may not be the case. Just because they live in a large house and they have an expensive car, does it mean that they're struggling and spending all their money on maintaining that house, maintaining that car, maintaining the land? We just automatically assume that they've got lots of money. They might have a lot of assets, but they may not have disposable income. And I don't think you can initially tell. Because there's multiple ways to come into assets, isn't it? I think it's been in a lot of discussion lately about people getting things from their parents, like the house, and the car, and that. And you've got things like you've got competitions like dream car giveaways and that, which admittedly I play, but there's several like bridge classic cars and things like that. That there's other ways of getting a nice car without spending massive amount of money. You can do it through competitions, and I'll give what they are. They're lotteries. It's called Dream Car Giveaways, and it's not a giveaway. And Bridge Classic Cars and camera competitions and that, they are lotteries. Right, because you may have a retired couple. I mean, there's a couple of... Well, there's a house over there where there's an older couple, isn't there? There's a couple of young couples up here. There's a few older couples living in... They're always couples. Well, I mean, we are talking about relationships on this channel, but let's not go into that right now. So we've got like a retired couple. I mean, they may have their own home. They may have a car. They may go on holidays. But then, because they're on a pension, they may not have a huge income. And so they can't expand their current level of assets, their current level of wealth. But then they still have the appearance of wealth. They still have the appearance of a successful family and a successful life. That's a whole discussion for another time, isn't it? Success and wealth are not the same things. And success to one person is not success to another. That's a discussion for another time, because we're talking about wealth. Because I want to say a difference between assets and disposable income. A doctor in a major city may have a very high salary, but work incredibly long hours, have a large mortgage, student debt, and little free time. Their disposable income may be high, but some aspects of their quality of life may be lower than people assume. Yeah, these are just examples. Someone might have a large family and drive a newer car and have access to excellent schools because of decisions made years ago or family of circumstances. They've got to come from a wealthy family. They appear to have a vast disposable income, but their monthly finances may be tighter than expected. It's difficult to judge. Because I think a lot of people, even people who are genuinely wealthy and genuinely have disposable income, they if you ask them, I think a majority would say, oh, they're poor as well, even in fabulously wealthy people. Because this could be because they're comparing themselves with their immediate socioeconomic background. People who are from a wealthy background don't think they are wealthy compared to people in their socioeconomic circle. And so they consider themselves poor. That's an interesting stat, isn't it? That's an interesting statistic. Whereas your wealth level sort of comes up or down to the level of the people in your social circle. That's another thing for a discussion, isn't it? I believe that's true. Because I believe your wealth comes either up or down to the people in your immediate social circle. See, this would have been an advantage for me if I had got into university, because I would have been introduced to a different level of people, a different set of acquaintances and people I'll get to know who are from a higher level of, what's the way of putting it? More privileged, a better, no, I can't say better, a more privileged level of socioeconomic background. Thing is, when I come up here, and I talk about the walking group as well, because I always say they are wealthier than me because they're all educated. They are from better backgrounds than me. They all got nicer cars. Maybe I should go to the walking group and I'm going to ask them a question. Rather than say, how wealthy are you? I should say, how much disposable income have you got? What is your quality of life? Do you have a high quality of life compared to people around you? Have you achieved financial independence? That's interesting as well. Is financial independence number, what is it? It's 25 times your annual outgoings. So mine is just under £200,000 because I've got my my financial independence number is just under £200,000 because I've got my expenses since losing my job, losing my career, losing everything, losing all my money. I've got my living expenses down. So 25 times my annual outgoing is just under £200,000 at the moment. It used to be higher than that, but I've brought it down. And that's that figure is what you need to not have to work again and maintain your current quality of life. So 25 times your annual outgoings. And that's with me, it's a very accurate figure because I'm recording all of my outgoings. But of course, I want to have a higher quality of life. So I'd rather have more than that. Now, is that we're talking about people who hang around with, because I'm parking the car up here in the wealthy part of the town. I'm comparing myself to people here. There's more to this talk, though. There's more to this talk because my limerence, because she comes from a family, from an area, from a part of the world where my perception is they are far wealthier than me, or far wealthier than this part of the world. My town as a whole, wealthier than my town as a whole, not this particular estate. So, real world examples. I'll talk about my limerence, but I can't talk about them too much. I wish I knew more. So let's talk about some real world examples, because I've written some notes this morning and real world examples. Like when I was a teenager and I worked in the airfield, there was this couple come along and they had this not good, I think it was dark blue Fiesta. It had rust on it, it had like a hubcap on one wheel and all the rest of steelies, and it was a trashed old Fiesta. And they were bringing their daughter to the airfield. And they were paying for her flying lessons. And she was learning to flying airplanes, and from what I gather was quite good at it. But I struck up a conversation with them a few times. And other people talked about them on the airfields because there was the flying school there. And apparently, this couple, the reason they could afford their daughter to learn to fly is because they owned their own airline. They operated a fleet of A320s and a TriStar. And they were turning up in this clapped out Fiesta. Now I feel myself questioning this because that's quite a few years ago now. Because I was bullied and I did have problems working at the airfield. So I'm just wondering if people did have me on. But then he did talk. And I did talk to the guy, and he said, "Yeah, we got some A320s and that." And I was like, and they never had a want for money. They were just paying for their daughter to have flying lessons, but turning up in this old Fiesta shows that people can be wealthy and have disposable income, but it's not immediately obvious. Let's go for another example. Right, because I know someone now actually, and from what I gather, he had a decent upbringing, a decent middle class upbringing, and he has multiple qualifications. He's studied in multiple countries. He's travelled all over the world. He's had some really, I'm tempted to say high paying, prestigious. We probably wouldn't call his jobs prestigious, but compared to the level of work that's available to me, I would call it prestigious jobs he's had. Yet today, he lives in a poky little flat on welfare, and some weeks he struggles to get enough money to survive. Admittedly, he had a lot of bad things happen in his life as well. But it goes to show that you can come from a decent background and have a lot of things go in your favour to give you a career and a lot of potential there. There is a chance he might watch this video at some point, and I don't want him to think I'm being critical. I'm not being critical. At least I'm not trying to be critical. But you can't predict what's going to happen in your life, and so things. Yeah, I mean that's what happened to me, isn't it? That's why I'm making these videos. Why I ended up making these videos. You can't predict what's going to happen. Yeah, before things happened to me, before the false accusations, and when I was still in work, I was able to lower my working hours and still maintain the income climbing every month. So I could manage my stress levels, manage the amount of work I did, and still bring money in. Learned the hard way of how to manage my money, because in the past, the money, as soon as I get money, it would be gone, and I had no money management. I think that's due to the way I was brought up. But I learnt I'd been in debt once before, and when I lost jobs and money and income once before. And so what I do now is I manage my money. So before the bad things happened to me this time, I was able to maintain an income every month and improve in my disposable income. But I wasn't immediately spending it to improve my quality of life, because I was always saving up for something. Like I've talked about cars, right? I've talked about Jaguar X350s a couple of times. I've seen them this weekend when I went to the car show. I even went to I was offered one once, but I've actually went and gone and saw one once and actually got a drive in it. So I was tempted to buy it, and I do regret not buying it. But at the same time, I didn't immediately buy it. I left it for a couple of months to think about it. And that ended up being a good thing, because when the false accusations were come to me, and then I ended up losing the job, losing my career, I was in a better position. Because when I had the money, I was unwilling to let it go. So I've got these spreadsheets where I monitor my current incomes and assets, and I monitor every expenditure, and I put into these big spreadsheets and give me accurate figures about what I've got and what could be coming in and what I can expect. And just saying that when I had money, I was unwilling to let it go. You also got that study about children as well, the marshmallows. Well, Dr. K brings it up a few times, and a few of the channels have brought it up. A study with marshmallows. I think it's been mentioned with cookies. I'm not sure if it's been repeated a couple of times. So these marshmallows, where the study children were given taken into a study room with a researcher, and the children were given a marshmallow. And they were told if they could. The researcher would leave the room. I think this is how our study went. The researcher would leave the room saying they will return. Oh, the marshmallow was on a plate in the table in the room, or a cookie. It could be any sort of treat. and child was sat there, and the researcher would leave the room, and they said, if you don't eat the marshmallow, they'll give you another one later. Correct me if I'm misinterpreting this research study that was done. And some of the children would eat the marshmallow that's in the room with them. Others would wait until the researcher would return and bring them another marshmallow. And they found that the children who were able to resist and not eat the marshmallow and have a second one later, they ended up having better careers, better education, better test scores. But I think the reason why it's brought up frequently now is the original study did not take into account the socioeconomic background of the children. Because this study is used as a representation of how you can misinterpret results in psychological tests. Because I think when people have gone back to this study, they found that the children who did not resist the first marshmallow ended up coming from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And I've mentioned this in videos before now. I think this is because when you're in a lower socioeconomic background, immediate rewards are more tangible, they're more achievable. Because you can try to save up for something or try to plan for something in the future, but because you've got so little disposable income, so little resources available to you, you can try and plan something, but you know it's unlikely you can do something in the future. The children didn't trust the research to come back with the second marshmallow, because they know from their own experience that second marshmallow is not likely to exist. That comes from their own experience having a low socioeconomic background. And so what I do now is I maintain these spreadsheets. It's extensive spreadsheets of all my money, all my not my total assets, things like not physical assets, but just money and investments. And I got investments as well. There's a lot of people who don't have investments. I mean, there's a story about that. It's like when I was younger, I went to my bank when I was in my teens, early teens. I said, can you tell me about investment? Can you tell me about stocks and shares and how does it work? And I actually asked them in the bank. And I was just passed off. No, it's not for you. We don't do that for you. The likes of you. I don't remember their exact words, but they didn't want to talk to me. See, if they talked to me at that age and took me aside, maybe some other person in the place had took me aside and showed me how it worked, my quality of life could have been, who knows? Don't know. You can't predict it. Yeah, the children didn't know another marshmallow was coming. All they had is the word of the researcher, and they had no reason to trust the researcher. Now, the reason I wanted to do a talk on wealth is due to my limerence. Yeah, the reason why I wanted to do a talk on wealth is because of my limerence. I mentioned in one of the previous, I've mentioned in a few previous videos how she seems to come from a better socioeconomic background than me. They seem wealthier. And I don't want to offend them, and I don't want them to, like, in case they did see the videos, they might get offended. You know, if you've got like a house with a driveway and multiple cars, it just seems like they've got a perfect life. Yeah, it just seems like they got a perfect life. It's just when they have charity campaigns to raise money, it just seems a little hypocritical to maintain such a high quality of life, and yet you're trying to raise money for charities. But then, would I want to give up my quality of life to raise money for charity? I mean, I'd want to give money for charity, but I wouldn't want to compromise my own quality of life. I mean, it's entirely possible that they're maintaining a quality of life and all their disposable income above that is going to charity. We just don't immediately see that, so that is entirely possible. You can't really judge, can you? Yeah, so charities. Charities, raising money for charities yet having a high quality of life. It's entirely possible that they're maintaining a high quality of life, but any disposable income above that is going to the charities. And you're unwilling to compromise your own quality of life in order to give to charities, so you can't really be critical. Can't really be critical. But it does seem to me that if the charity is really important, then you could have a smaller house. You could live in an apartment with smaller, cheaper cars. But then once you've lost that level of that quality of life, hasn't it? Your own quality of life has decreased, and you've got nothing to show for it. You've just given something to a charity and improved other people's lives temporarily. I don't know. The whole argument just seems really complicated in my mind. I think you can't criticise someone for maintaining a decent quality of life and giving to charity. I think I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with the notion because I do come from a poor socio-economic background. But I think it's important to say that I wouldn't, although I want to contribute to their charity campaigns, I know that I wouldn't be willing to sacrifice my quality of life. Yeah, wealth is complicated and it can be difficult to judge. Wealth is complicated. Wealth is complicated because you've got quality of life, you've got owned assets, you've got socioeconomic background and social circle, and you've got disposable income, and they're all sort of different aspects that contribute to this entire contribute to the perspective of wealth. I mean, you can look at that a different way. Am I a bad person for wanting to improve my own quality of life? I mean, I want to be more financially independent. I would love to achieve my financial independence figure, and go beyond that so I can actually maintain a better quality of life. I mean, I want a better car. I want a second car with 4 seats and 4 doors so I can take my parents places. I mean, you could argue then, why don't I get rid of this car and get a cheap Fiesta? But then I bought the car for myself, I'm not willing to give it up. My car is only cheap, by the way. My car is only cheap. It was cheaper to tax and insure than my father's Skoda Roomster. It's just a good-looking, rare car, and it's part of me that I bought myself. I did the math to make sure I could afford it. But then, look at the car from the outside. They see a nice-looking 90s car that's rare, and people automatically think, oh, that's an expensive car. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. I mean, I have had people walking past when I've been parked on streets and that, and taking pictures of the car. As enthusiasts, you can tell they're enthusiasts. But people may see the car and automatically think, oh, it's an expensive car or a wealthy car. But it's not. It's just got a little 1.5 litre, 89 horsepower engine. 89 horsepower. It's interesting. One of the charity campaigns was providing computers to school children. When I was in school, I think there was only 2 computers in the whole school. I mean, I could only ever see one at a time, so I did initially think there was one, but I think there was 2. There was one in the lower end of the school and one in the upper end of the school, but they're on identical trolleys that could be moved around. Maybe there was one at a time. BBC Micro. And I never got to use it. Until the last year in school when I mentioned something to my teacher, and he was the only male teacher I had in primary school. And I mentioned to him, and then he took his own time, and he took a lunch time, and he didn't go to lunch. He then just ended up sitting with me and show me the computer on my own, rather than with the other, because the sort of primary school I went to, it was always the wealthier, the more academically brilliant students and children that got to use the computers. But this one teacher took time out to sit with me and use the computer and showed me Logo. He showed me how to use Logo. And that's always stuck with me. That's really important. And that of their charity campaigns, I thought that was really, really important. And it really resonated with me. Making sure that all children have access to computer equipment. So one of my ambitions, if I did have money, I'll say ambitions, it's if I did have a huge amount of money, a massive amount of money, like if the book I'm writing, for instance, the light novel I'm writing, if I publish that and it becomes really popular, we're talking about Harry Potter levels of popularity, what I would do with that money is I would buy up the land. The land was for sale not so long ago. There's a summer camp. There's a ruined, derelict summer camp further up the coast than me, and the place was vandalised and it's been derelict and almost all demolished for years now. And I photographed it before it was completely demolished. I got old photographs. Maybe I could put some of my old photographs on the screen. But there's a summer camp up the coast from me, and what I'd like to do is rebuild that. We probably have to flatten all the buildings that's currently there and rebuild anew. Yeah, I'd like to rebuild the summer camp, but make it for accessible to ASD children and introvert children. Because I mean, growing up, I always hated the way that the extroverts, not just the wealthy people, but also the extroverts, always the ones always got the attention and always got the resources spent on them, school resources spent on them. I think the quiet children need, and the ASD kids and the people with PDA, they need their own love, they need their own care. And I'd like to make a summer camp especially for those children, have all the things I didn't get to have when I was growing up. The attention. Like it wasn't until my last year of primary school I actually had a teacher who would sit down and talk to me. But even if it was, I got ideas for the summer camp where there'll be different activities and a different person, a different set of tutors for different activities, and the children can choose what they do rather than being set in groups saying you have to do this or you have to do that. Instead, the children will be free to go to whatever vocational activity they want to do, be it there'll be a computer room or an art room or something like that. And there'll be a photography lab and things like that. And the children are free to choose their own activities. That's the sort of summer camp I'd do. If my book was really popular, if the light novel, when I publish it, I mean, I've been working on it for a long time. And give ASD children a sanctuary, a place to go. You need wealth in order to do that. You need wealth in order to do that, and in order to contribute to charities. In order to contribute to charities, you need a level of wealth that you can actually contribute to charities. Right, conclusion. You can't really judge wealth. And it's difficult from my socioeconomic background to say that, because it just seems like everywhere I look there's people who are wealthier than me and got a better quality of life than me. Yeah, I walk up and down here and I'm thinking, I wish I could live in a house like this. I wish I could have a car like this. I wish I could have a driveway. But would it be worth having all that if you've got no disposable income and you've got no freedom? Okay, with that, I gotta go. Go have lunch with my mother. It's going to take a lot of editing, this, isn't it? Okay, I will see you later.